What's up, guys? Andrew Cooper here. It is Monday morning, meaning it's time to assess the damage from Sunday football. What we do on this show every week, as you probably know at this point, is go through every game and just tell you what happened to the best of our ability, kind of behind the scenes, right? You know who won the game, who scored the points. We're going to go in and try and look at the snaps, look at who ran the routes, who got the carries, who was out there for two wide receiver sets, three wide receiver sets, all that stuff that help us predict the future, right? It's easy to say, oh, this guy scored a touchdown. Maybe he'll score one next week. I mean, it works with Nick Westbrook or Keenan. With most of these guys, we want to know if they're out there or not. That's what's going to help us out moving forward. So we're going to do that right now. First, just want to give a shout out to some of these sources that help us with this. Obviously, Fantasy Alarm, obviously the NFL itself, but we comb around, check out and see what Pro Football Focus is saying, Pro Football Reference, Fantasy Points Data Suite, Player Profiler, Sumer Sports. I check everything out just to see if we can uncover exactly what the heck's going on here. So shout out to a lot of those sources. Here's what we found. First game here, let's take a look at the Chargers at Falcons game. On the Chargers side, if you're wondering what happened with Lad McConkey, knee injury. So he actually was getting peppered with targets, played a decent amount, but left the game after only 29 or 46 snaps. He still led the team in routes run, even though he left. He left kind of later on. We're going to keep an eye on that. If he's out, then I think either probably Darius Davis will step up in the slot. So it'll be Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer on the outside, and then Darius Davis taking Lad McConkey's job. Otherwise, Lad McConkey's still going to be the guy that we go for here. Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer get a little boost probably if he does miss time. Will Disley played his normal snap share, maybe a little less than normal, ran 20 of 28 routes, 29 of 46 snaps. He was on the injury report kind of with a groin injury, and then he was cleared of that. But I'm wondering if maybe he was dealing with a groin because this guy was averaging 6 targets a game over the last 7 games. This game he comes out, gets 1 target, doesn't catch it. I'm wondering if maybe that groin's bothering him more than they're letting on. Stone Smart, our guy, caught a pass, but he only played 7 snaps. So Stone Smart's not happening this year, guys. I don't think so. Gus Edwards led. He led in carries. He played 24 snaps. Also led in routes run. He's not much of a pass catcher, but he ran 12 routes to only 6 for Kamani Vidal. So he is the starter in all phases for as long as J.K. Dobbins is out. On the Falcons side, it was Drake London, it was Raymond McLeod, it was Darnell Mooney. This game was very strange in terms of game script because you had some defensive plays, some turnovers, some short drives for the Chargers. So the Chargers only played 46 offensive snaps in this game. The Falcons played 81, almost double. So Drake London, Raymond McLeod, Darnell Mooney, those are your full-time wide receivers. They run a lot of 11 personnel. And then what they did after that is that because they wanted to have 3 wide receivers out there so much, and Kyle Pitts isn't that great of a blocker, they rotated Charlie Warner in there for a lot of run plays. So Charlie Warner played 47 snaps, only ran 8 routes. Kyle Pitts played 33 snaps, ran 26 routes, got 2 targets, did nothing with them. 26 of 40 routes for Kyle Pitts. That's just not good enough, man. You really can't trust this guy. Drake London ran 39 of 40 routes. Mooney ran 39 of 40 routes. Ray McLeod ran 36 of 40 routes. So that's what they want to do. So Kyle Pitts kind of phased out here. Bijan Robinson, 61 snaps. He was the top dog. Tyler Algier did what he did, which was play on a few short yardage downs. Like that's where he factors in. That's why he's kind of a break glass in case of emergency play if you need him, right? Chasing a touchdown. Next game here, Steelers at Bengals, the team of destiny, Pittsburgh Steelers. George Pickens led 62 snaps of 68, and then they rotated guys as they typically do. Van Jefferson played 42 snaps. Then it was like Ben Skowronek, 23. Mike Williams only played 17, so holding out hope for him to come along and save your team. It's probably not going to happen this year at the very least. Pat Freiermuth had a better game than usual, 45 snaps, so he didn't play the full game like Pickens, but he ran 27 routes. Pickens ran 38, so still not as good as we wanted to be. But he got 7 targets. He caught 6 of them, right? He caught 6 of 7 targets. That actually brought his season-long completion percentage down. Crazy. This guy's catching everything thrown his way. They got to throw him the ball more. I mean, per Pro Football Focus, he had a 92% catch rate coming into this game. Caught 6 of 7. Get my boy Muth the ball more. But what they do is they use Darnell Washington and Michael Pruitt. Those guys. So you had 45 snaps from Muth, 33 for Washington, 25 for Pruitt. Obviously, that adds up to almost 100 snaps in the game where they only played 68 snaps. So they're doing a lot of 2 tight end sets. Russell Wilson looked good. Justin Fields only played 2 snaps, so we're not worried about him. we were a little worried that he was going to take away some packages. So Russell Wilson probably one of the top waiver ads this week, especially with a lot of good quarterbacks on bye week. Najee Harris played 35 snaps. Jalen Warren played 25. Harris got 16 carries, to only 3 for Warren, but then they split the routes run, 16 for Harris, 17 for Warren. So Harris still a much better start. Cordell Patterson played a little bit, but not enough to matter really. Bengals here, it was Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside. Those are the guys we care about. 10 targets for Higgins, 9 for Chase. Yoshi Voss is the third wide receiver, played about 42 of 62 snaps. So again, dart throw territory, trying to chase a touchdown. Drew Sample and Mike Gesicki and Tanner Hudson all kind of rotated. Cam Grande even played a little bit. Gesicki ran 25 of 44 routes. So again, not really a guy we can trust, more like dart throw territory. And then Chase Brown played 50 snaps to only 6 for Khalil Herbert. Herbert actually got a carry, which is nice because no one had been getting them besides Chase Brown. But Chase Brown's role is locked in. If you got Chase Brown, he's looking awesome right now. Took a Zach Moss injury for us to get there, but we're here now. So get him in your lineup every week. Houston Texans, 63 total snaps. Nico Collins played 44. Tank Dell played 43. Then after that, they kind of rotated guys. No Xavier Hutchinson. John Mechie was kind of the third guy there, but they rotate the running backs and the tight ends enough that they don't really have a pure third wide receiver now that Stephon Diggs is gone. Dalton Schultz played 43 snaps, ran 28 of 38 routes, which again not ideal, but still he got 7 targets. So again, he's more of a tight end 2 territory dart throw. Joe Mixon led. He was awesome. 20 carries, 47 snaps, only 9 for Dare Ogunbowale, 7 for Damian Pierce. So Joe Mixon's locked in. On the Jaguars side, it was Brian Thomas Jr. as the full-time outside guy. Parker Washington played a big snap share here with no Christian Kirk and no Gabe Davis. 56 snaps for him, 61 for Brian Thomas Jr. And then we thought it'd be Tim Jones, but after him, it was actually Devin Duvernay that played the next most amount. I mean, Parker Washington got a bunch of targets here, but it really still is BTJ and Evan Engram, especially because Trevor Lawrence got knocked out of this game with a really brutal hit to the head. I imagine that Azir is going to be suspended, but hopefully Trevor Lawrence can be back sooner rather than later. Evan Engram was awesome as usual. 38 routes run, same number as Brian Thomas Jr. 8 targets. That's all we care about in this world. He's locked in for us. And then running back Travis Etienne got more snaps. It was kind of interesting here where Bigsby was more of the running down back for a while there, and then ETN this week actually got more carries than Bigsby, but Bigsby ran more routes than ETN. But even then, ETN got more targets. So it's kind of split down the middle. Bigsby, though, is coming off an ankle injury. I think he's the better looking player. Both these guys are potentially worth a spot start, but Bigsby's available on a lot of wires because he was dropped. So maybe go out and grab him if he's floating around out there. Next one here, Cardinals at Vikings. On the Viking side, it was Justin Jefferson. It was Jordan Addison. 50 snaps apiece for those guys. 51 for Jefferson, 50 for Addison. That's out of 53. So they're out there every snap, essentially. They've both ran 38 of 39 routes. So those guys are locked in. After them was Jalen Naylor, but they use enough 2 tight end sets that we don't really care much about the nail gun. TJ Hawkinson, not quite as good as we've seen in the past, right? But at least he's playing more than 50% of snaps. First 3 games back, he played under 50% of snaps. That scared us. Last week, he played 68%. This week, he played 34 of 53 snaps, which translates to 64%. So not ideal, not fully, but I mean, he's out there. At least he's out there more than 50%. Only 3 targets here, so he let us down. Johnny Munt scored the touchdown, so that's football. Aaron Jones was benched at one point for fumbling a couple times. He's had some serious fumble issues. I think 4 over the last 3 games or 5 over the last 4 games, something like that. So keep an eye on that, but he still led in all phases. More carries, more routes, more targets than Cam Akers. Cam Akers is the next guy up if anything happens there. And then on the Arizona side, they said they were going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. more involved, and they did. 12 targets here. Good for him. Michael Wilson was the second wide receiver as always, but per Nathan Yankee over at PFF, he actually played more slot snaps than usual. He hasn't been super efficient out of the slot, but they wanted Zay Jones on the outside, maybe a little less Greg Dortch. That's kind of what we saw. Zay Jones played 32 snaps for 19 for Dortch. Again, it really is just Marv and Trey McBride that you can trust here, but Michael Wilson is on like the deep league dart throw radar if you need him. Trey McBride, 12 targets again. Guy rocks. 48 routes run of 51. Doesn't get much better than that. Tip Ryman was a blocking tight end. Elijah Higgins played a little bit. kind of dispel those guys. But 77 of 82 snaps from McBride. That's awesome. James Conner was great. Just got paid, got a big payday. 17 carries for him, 3 for Amari DiMercato, 3 for Trey Benson. So can't really trust that. And then Amari DiMercato ran some routes in a pass catching capacity, 12 for him, 5 for Trey Benson. So uh, if James Conner goes down, they probably would split that backfield a bit, but Trey Benson would probably be the preferred ad just because the schedule is good for running, and DeMercado is more of a pass down back. Colts game here. Michael Pittman dealing with a bad back, going up against Christian Gonzalez. Still got 7 targets, so he's all right. 21 routes run out of a total 24. Alec Pierce ran 20 of 24. No Josh Downs, which moved Adonai Mitchell back into that role in the slot. Only 2 targets for him though, so not ideal. I mean, Downs was kind of tough to trust in that role, so hard to trust Mitchell. As always with the Colts tight ends, big rotation. Callan Granson led with 14 routes and 3 targets, but Mo Alley Cox got 2 targets. Andrew Ogletree got 1. Will Mallory got 1. Just not a good spot for tight end usage. Even if you could combine them all into one tight end, I'm not sure I would even use that guy. Jonathan Taylor, 55 snaps, 5 for Trey Sermon, 1 for Tyler Goodson. So Jonathan Taylor, obviously, playing one of the highest snap shares. It's basically only him, Christian McCaffrey, who's now hurt, and Kyron Williams playing over 80% of the snaps. So Jonathan Taylor at least playing a ton. On the Patriots side, speaking of playing a ton, Kayshon Boutte, 71 of 72 snaps. He's the only full every down guy for this team. 39 of 39 routes run. Did get 6 targets. So again, more dart throwy than a guy you can trust. But if you're going to try and trust one of them, it's probably him. Jamario Douglas continues to play slot. He plays in 3 wide receiver sets only. So he played 45 of 72 snaps. Kendrick Bourne played 46 snaps. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker just kind of not really, kind of getting phased out a little bit, not really doing a whole lot. So it's Kayshon Boutte or Demario Douglas as the guys that you're going to go for here. And then at tight end, Hunter Henry, 9 targets again, 33 of 39 routes. But Austin Hooper, even though he plays a lot less, only 14 routes run for him, he scores the touchdown. I mean, that's been the case. If you actually take Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper and add their fantasy points together, it's more than Brock Bowers. It's over 200. So if there was such a player as Hunter Hooper, he would be an excellent tight end. But Hunter Henry, at least, has these games with 7, 8, 9 targets. So he's more trustworthy than a lot of these guys. You just got crushed by Will Disley and Kyle Pitts. Like Hunter Henry, that's why we've been ranking Hunter Henry ahead of those guys because he's just been more consistent. End of story. Ramondre Stevenson, 56 snaps, got 18 carries, ran 30 routes. Of course, Antonio Gibson vultures a touchdown, but Stevenson has some of the best usage, at least, of any player. So you can at least feel good about that. They're going on bye week this week, but down the stretch, you can potentially utilize him there. Next game here, Seahawks at Jets. Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. JSN and DK continue to lead this team in snaps. Tyler Lockett only played 29 of 63 snaps. I didn't see anything that said he got nicked up here. Maybe they're just kind of easing him in, or he's easily the third fiddle now. So if you can trade for JSN in your dynasty league still somehow, I know it's tough because he's like a top 10 wide receiver, but if you can do that, now's the time because it's only going to continue for this guy. He's a great player. And Tyler Lockett kind of being twilighted out here. Noah Fant returned, played a bunch of snaps, ran a bunch of routes. But again, he's the third fiddle at best, but probably fourth behind Lockett, JSN, and Metcalf. So can't really trust Fant. Only ran 27, 35 routes. And A.J. Barner, as the backup, scored the touchdown, which A.J. Barner only ran 9 routes. So you're not going to start that guy. But A.J. Barner, kind of a deep of the bench stash for Dynasty because I'm not sure they're going to bring Noah Fant back. I think he might be gone next year. So A.J. Barner's looked pretty good. So keep an eye out for him. Kenneth Walker played over Zach Charbonnet, 16 carries to 4 for Charbonnet. They both ran 12 routes. So basically, Walker is getting more. We see this with a lot of teams where it's like one guy gets more of the carries and then they split the pass work. That's basically the deal. So 39 snaps for Walker, 28 for Charbonnet. Not as good as it was early this season, but the game kind of got out of hand. On the Jets side, 68 plays. Adams played 66. Garrett Wilson played 66. The closest thing to a wide receiver 3 was Malachi Corley, the rookie. He kind of stepped up and played the third most snaps there, but it's Adams, it's Wilson. That's it. 11 targets and 10 for those two guys. Tyler Conklin got 5. Again, even with 36 or 41 routes run, you can't really trust that guy at all. Brees Hall, despite kind of being nicked up, 12 carries, 21 routes run. 42 snaps. Like he was the lead guy. Isaiah Davis scored the touchdown. Braylon Allen got some carries, but I mean, like he still leads the team. It's just, sometimes a play that you're hoping goes to your guy goes to somebody else, despite the numbers leaning towards Brees Hall. That again, this fantasy football, baby. That's the way it's going to go. Titans at Washington Commanders. I think I have it backwards on the screen. It's Titans at Commanders. The Commanders, it was Terry McLaurin leading the way. Noah Brown left the game with a rib injury. So if you're asking what happened there, left with a rib injury. He's been kind of the wide receiver too. Diami Brown took over those snaps, and then Olamide Zacchaeus and Luke McCaffrey kind of mixed in, but neither one of those guys even really played more than like a quarter of the game. So if Noah Brown misses time, I think it's Diami Brown as the guy there. Zach Ertz played his typical role, 54 snaps, 29 routes run out of 38, got 5 targets. I mean, he's been consistent. I mean, the people ranking, and I don't want to get too deep in this, but people continue to rank Will Disley over Zach Ertz, even though Ertz has scored more fantasy points since Hayden Hurst has been out. He's been more consistent. Like Ertz over Disley is how I've had it. I don't know why. I mean, people got the rug pulled on him this week. I didn't think it would be that bad, but like Ertz has just been better than Disley, and he's out there in like half the leagues. So you could do a lot worse than him, but he's on bye this week, so not really a guy you can utilize right now. Brian Robinson, so Austin Eckler's on IR, and because of the bye week, he can't return until week 18. So he's irrelevant for fantasy football. Brian Robinson played, he started, got most of the carries. Jeremy McNichols mixed in on some pass downs, but uh, it was mostly Brian Robinson. And then once the game got out of hand, Chris Rodriguez played and actually got more carries than McNichols, but that would not have happened if this wasn't like a 42, what was it, like 42-17? Like it was a complete blowout. On the Tennessee side, it was Calvin Ridley and Nick Whisper-Kine every snap. I'm talking 55 snaps were played. Ridley and NWI each played 55. And Ridley got 5 targets. Nick Westbrook-Heaney got 7. He continues to be fairly inefficient, besides the fact that he scores a touchdown every week. He scored 2 this week. So now he has, 8 touchdowns in 8 games or 7 in 7 games? I mean, guys like that get hot like that, you just got to roll with it. Tyler Boyd played his slot role. They used a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, so he played 47 snaps, but that's not typical for this team. And then Chickasee Okonkwo didn't quite play the whole game. 36 snaps of 55, 28 routes run of 39. He did get 6 targets. And again, the schedule is great for this team down the stretch. It's like Jaguars twice, Colts, Bengals. So these pass catching options, including Will Levis, keep an eye out for them. Will Levis quietly is having like 16, 17, 18, 19 fantasy points for 4 straight games here. So Will Levis could definitely be a guy that you can utilize down the stretch, especially this week against the Jaguars. Tony Pollard, 40 snaps for him, to only 14 for Tajay Spears. So they're easing Spears back in. Next game here, Buccaneers at Panthers. Buccaneers were all over him here. Mike Evans, 12 targets, one-handed touchdown catch. He rocks. He played 67 snaps. Jalen McMillan played 61. So he's getting the snaps, but Sterling Shepard out of the slot is getting more targets. Sterling Shepard only played 35 snaps out of 80, and he got 7 targets. But again, he's really comes out for rundowns, but not really guys that we can trust. K-Dot did get 7 targets, didn't do much on him, which is a big letdown. But at least he's getting the targets. He played 75 of 80 snaps, so he played more snaps than Mike Evans. They both ran 35 routes. You could do worse than K-Dot. We're not going to penalize him that bad for a week like this when he was kind of the second target on the team after Mike Evans still. Bucky Irving and Rashad White each basically played the same number of snaps, 43 for Irving, 42 for White. But Irving ran all over them. He's the early down back with 23 routes run, but he's also catching the ball kind of better than Rashad White. So even though he's ran only 13 routes for 22, he got more targets. Bucky Irving is looking awesome. Lock him into your lineups. Rashad White still worth a spot start because they get him some carries. And Sean Tucker wasn't used at all. That's much better. 3-headed monster is brutal for fantasy. So hopefully they just keep doing this the way they're doing it right now. Carolina Panthers, Xavier Legette led with 67 snaps. David Moore was opposite him with 63. And Adam Thielen was in the slot with 51. They all ran like 40 routes. This team called 50 pass plays. So you can't really say, oh, they're going to, Legette's going to get 8 targets and Moore's going to get 9 and Thielen's going to get 10 and Tommy Trundle's going to get 7. People fell for this trap with Cole Kmet with the Bears. That's not how it works. Okay. So I know we want to try and chase these guys and do that, but they're not going to throw 50 times every week, even if they are looking better and throwing a little more. So just keep that in mind. The guy that I like best is Xavier Legette. David Moore, I know he's gotten the targets the last couple of weeks, but I still think it's Thielen over him in terms of calling up plays, and Leggett offers more upside. So Moore still is the third guy. It's got to be really deep league to go for him. Tommy Tremble is a worth a spot start and the DFS play. We had him as the DFS tight end coach this week. As long as Jatavian Sanders is out. Once Sanders is back, it'll be back to being a split. But as long as he's out, Tremble is the only show in town because Ian Thomas was put on IR. He played 70 of 70 snaps, 100%. So can't ignore that. A guy we can definitely consider. Chuba Hubbard played 55 snaps. Jonathan Brooks played only 15. No, the week before he played only 5. So, I guess that is 3 times as many snaps, but still not enough for fantasy football. We'll have to keep an eye on how he gets ramped up. For the Saints, it was Marquez Valdez Scantling and Kevin Austin Jr. on the outside. MVS ran 32 of 39 routes, so his usage continues to get better, even though he only got 3 targets. The big story here is Taysom Hill got hurt with a knee injury, ruled out pretty quickly. We don't know the extent of it, but the assumption is that he's going to miss some time here. That's going to be a boost for, honestly, pretty much everybody else in this offense because of how much he was used. I mean, 5 carries, 6 targets, playing QB snaps. It's a boost for Derek Carr. It's a boost for Alvin Kamara. It's a boost for Jamal Williams. And it's a boost for Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson came out and ran 31 of 39 routes, had 6 targets. So Juwan Johnson is now on the streaming radar where he really wasn't before because of this guy, Taysom Hill, kind of just like sucking the value out of this entire team. So sorry to everyone that was using Taysom Hill, but now it kind of boosts the value of everybody else. That's how it always goes when anybody gets hurt. That was you know, racking up a lot of touches. On the Rams side, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, those are your guys. Demarcus Robinson got banged up, but again, Robinson was the third fiddle, tough to trust. Tutu Atwell played more with Robinson out. So Tutu Atwell is the next man up. The tight ends rotated like crazy. Can't touch any of them. 20, 19, 18 snaps for Colby Parkinson, Hunter Long, Davis Allen. Can't trust that. Kyron Williams oddly gave up some snaps to Blake Corum, which we really don't see that often. We'll have to see what happened with Williams, but it was an early game, second drive, Blake Corum drive. I remember that. So he was playing early on in this game. So keep an eye on that. He's one of the best handcuffs out there at the very least, but now maybe he'll be a handcuff plus. We don't know. Next game here, Eagles at the Ravens. AJ Brown played virtually the whole game, as he does with Devonta Smith out. Jahan Dotson played pretty much all the pass plays, 20 of 22 routes run, but he came out for a bunch of run plays. They like using 2 tight end sets, whatever. Dallas Goedert got banged up. And again, with no Devonta Smith and no Johnny Wilson, they had to rely on guys like Paris Campbell, but not worth adding him. He wasn't even targeted. Dallas Goedert got nicked up here. If he's out, Grant Calcaterra is back on the streaming menu. What were we calling him from the Futurama guy? Calcutron, that's my guy right there. But Grant Calcaterra, I mean, it's hard enough to trust Goddard, tough to trust Calcaterra. So is what it is. Saquon Barkley dominated again, 49 of 56 snaps, only 7 for Kenneth Gainwell, 1 for Will Shipley. Gainwell probably the better handcuff of the two. On the Ravens side, Zay Flowers played the whole game, 68 of 72 snaps. Rashad Bateman got banged up and he could miss some time. He was already tough to trust in fantasy, but Tylan Wallace stepped up in his place, and he's probably the guy over Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar is still more of a boom bust field stretcher. So again, deeper leagues, maybe take a look at Tylan Wallace. Mark Andrews played 53 of 72 snaps, 27 of 45 routes run, which is still a far cry what he used to get. But 7 targets, got a carry, scored a touchdown. Andrews definitely moving up in terms of his usage as of late. So back on the radar. Derrick Henry, 18 carries to only 3 for Justice Hill, but Justice Hill played more pass snaps, so they each played 37 and 36 snaps. Patrick Ricard, the fullback, played a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. And then the night game, the Snow Bowl, you had the Buffalo Bills continuing to do what they want to do. Clearly, they didn't like what was going on with Stephon Diggs, with him getting all the touches, so now they spread everything out. Of 58 snaps, you had 38 for Mac Hollins, 29 for Khalil Shakir, 27 for Amari Cooper, 22 for Curtis Samuel, 15 for Jalen Virgil. They spread it all around. Khalil Shakir, with the snow, was getting a lot of the shorter passes because that's what he does best. Dawson Knox got not quite the full role, but they were kind of mixing and matching a little bit with some additional linemen and blocking tight ends like Quentin Morris. If in better games, he'll probably in better game scripts. If Dalton Kincaid's out, he'll be a closer to a stream, but I don't know. Still Dawson Knox, and we saw a lot of Dawson Knox for a while, and he wasn't really popping. So James Cook continues to lead this team. Ray Davis in the heavy run script got some extra runs. Ty Johnson is a pass catching specialist. If Cook were to go down, it'd probably be Davis early down, Ty Johnson on pass downs, but Ray Davis is the guy you would want. On the 49ers side, Juwan Jennings and Debo Samuel continued to work on the outside. Ricky Pearsall was the part-time slot guy. George Kittle played his full role, 48 of 48 snaps, 20 of 23 routes run. Just wasn't heavily involved here. Matt Milano was back, which is a tough matchup for tight ends. So keep that in mind for Bills moving forward. Both these teams are really not good matchups for tight ends. The Bills, now that Milano's back, not good. The big news here, Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Jordan Mason took over and was the top dog. Isaac Guerrero is his backup. So that's it, folks. We got through all of it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the support, the likes, the subscribes, everything you guys do for us. And it's why we do these things for you guys. There would be no fantasy alarm without you guys, without the people joining the live shows, the people checking out these shows. So just want to say, Thanksgiving week, we're thankful for you guys. We actually have a deal going right now, the Cyber Monday deal, because it is Monday. You can go out and get 50% off with promo code CM24. That's $19 a month, 1998 through the rest of through 2026 if you want to do it for the entire year. So we got that going on for you guys. It means a lot, helps us out, gets you in the Discord, gets you hanging out with us. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for everything you do, and good luck in your fantasy football playoffs. We'll be here every week until you guys say, hey, we don't want any more. Well, we'll be doing the DFS stuff and the playoff stuff to for everybody that wants to play fantasy football for as long as we can, because it's awesome.